Welcome to your doom. Shut it and get over here. Massive uppercut!
Hello and welcome to another edition of the JabJab Show. Now, as you might notice from the mop, the t-shirt and the slightly wider shot, I'm reviewing another Toxic Avenger film. In this case, Toxic Avenger Part III, The Last Temptation of Toxie. Now, just before we get on, I'd like to just apologise a little bit for the slight delay in the movie retrospectives I'm doing. Also with the Troma stuff I'm doing, as well as, it's very loosely kind of scheduled and whatever. I'm just mixing things up a little. So I'm back on track with certain things. I'll talk more at the end of the review. Okay, so like I say, the Toxic Avenger 3, Last Temptation of Toxie. Now, it's again directed by Lloyd, Kaufman and Herz. It came out in 1989, I should say. Directed by them. It stars again Fazio, Phoebe, Legere, Rick Collins and Lisa Gaye, amongst a whole other colourful characters and what have you. So the film begins with a voiceover explaining the events of the first and second films, just so you can get you up to speed before it properly starts. It's a good introduction, and if you've watched my review of the first Toxic Avenger film, you'll know that this film, the third one, was my introduction to the whole Troma thing, Toxic Avenger thing. So this introduction is pretty cool. It keeps it fills in basically what's happened previously on Toxic Avenger, that kind of thing. So after that, it cuts to a video store. The video store owners renting videos to people, and they're going about the business and so on. And then a car pulls up outside. A gang of nefarious sorts, they come in. They announce, one of them announced, from now on you'll only be renting Apocalypse Incorporated videos, not Troma videos. Ha 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 ha. They start tearing up the place and being jerks and whatever. But stop panicking, because Toxic Avenger, our hero, he comes in and starts leathering them. Starts beating them all up in his typical Toxic fashion. And there's some really good gags in here. So he sorts them out and whatever. And, everything's right with the world, or at least with this video shop. A little while later, Toxie's blind girlfriend Claire, again played by Phoebe Legere, she gets a letter from a company saying they found a cure for her blindness. The operation will cost them $357,000. And this is that's a lot of money, and they can't afford that. I mean, with all the crime pretty much gone, Toxie's beating them all up, and everything's pretty much okay with Tromaville now. He feels like he can't really, obviously can't afford this, but so he'll have to go out and get a job, and to help pay for the operation. So there's a montage of him in various jobs, like a door salesman, working at the video store and whatever, with unsuccessful results. Meanwhile, news of their financial woes reaches Apocalypse Incorporated headquarters. The chairman, again played with great Troma style enthusiasm by Rick Collins, he catches up a plan. He thinks, well, we can get Toxie to work for us under kind of false pretenses, and thus controlling Toxie, and we're able to control Tromaville as a result. Bwahaha. And so then Troma-style antics then follow. So as I mentioned before, and also in my review for Toxie 1, this film was my introduction, my first exposure, if you will, to a Troma film. And I bloody loved it. It's awesome. This is great stuff. Okay, so mainly because it was so different from everything I'd seen up to that point. With how it was shot, and all the prosthetics and blood and passion, nudity and whatever, all concoctions together, it just sang to me. It's like it got me. It's one of the films I can definitely say it just got me, kind of almost on a molecular level or something like that. And as I was watching this film, I just became very paranoid. I shouldn't even be exposed to this kind of thing at such a young age. I mean, I was 14. The whole passion, nudity, the gore, the effects, the characters, the storyline, the way it's shot, the film stock is just so different. The kind of weird, odd mix of cartoony violence with sometimes genuinely icky, grotesque moments and all the rest of it, all concocted together to create this unholy mess almost that, I shouldn't even be in the same room, same house as this film. But I watched it, I was transfixed. But the thing was, I was watching it with relatives who, some were older than me, and so, with all this going on, there was certain scenes, certain things in there that are just a little bit too uncomfortable. So cut to modern day me. Here I am. I've since watched all the Toxic Avenger films and most of the Troma films and lots of films in general in the intervening years since watching this from back in the day. I still really like this film. It's really good. I prefer it over the second film. Probably not over the first one though. In my review for the second Toxic film, I do mention that Troma did shoot far too much footage to make a second film. They decided to make Toxie 2 and Toxie 3, so you get the main actors from Toxie 2 there in this one as well, and I really like all the performances. What I disliked about Toxic Avenger Part 2 was, for me, at some points it didn't feel like a Troma film, like, you know, for what on the previous film. I mean, with some of the fighting sequences, it just felt a bit too much like a regular film, and it just meandered a little bit now and again for me. But this Part 3 from the opening in the video store, it just retains the sense of fun they had in the first one throughout. But again, like Toxic Avenger 2, you know, there's a lot of voiceover in this, and it's just to try and piece it all together, all the story threads and whatever, trying to make it more cohesive and whatever. Even Lloyd Kaufman on his commentary, which again I watched on the box set over here, even on his commentary, he cites this as one of the film's faults, as in the overabundance of explanation and whatever, to try and, like I say, it's another compromise in making two films out of the footage they have. It's they did it for financial reasons, and it's just they felt they had to put all this kind of voiceover expository kind of stuff on the voiceover to do that, and it does harm the film, I feel. He also mentions a lot of the dialogue on set was improvised, so that changed the original script as the production wore on. But he said his biggest regret really was at that stage in his career, he was still trying to play the game of the establishment. He was looking to get an R rating for these films, because he had a lot of trouble with the first film. Certain shots and sequences and whatever just kind of thrown out by the MPAA. So he still wanted to do. So he wanted to dial a lot of it back. So he felt basically compromised. He compromised too much on these films. He's quite critical of parts 2 and 3 on the commentaries, even though he does mention that part 3 is his most personal one. To be honest, I feel he's been a bit too harsh on himself. He's not giving himself too much credit. I mean, he mentions he wants to comment on the Reagan years, the yuppie movement, the consumerism. And that's all nicely presented in this film. And he also, commenting again the continuation theme of the big corporation pushing around the little guy. Because even though they've been here since 1974, Troma still not, sees themselves as a little guy against the big evil corporations, whatever he mentions on the various commentaries. And also, there's lots of references to Faust and the Midsummer Night's Dream, so he's getting a bit Shakespearean on our ass. In terms of Faust, there's a big influence on the film, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a time when Toxie does make a pact, and it's all done with smoke and lots of red lights, and there's a very dramatically shot and how it's played out. It's just one of the reasons why I feel this film brings a lot of the fun back to the series. There's lots of sequences that are quite out there, quite surreal in this, where the sequences, be it they daydreams, nightmares, visions, where it's obviously shot on a soundstage, but the way it plays out, like I say, and all the rest of it, it just gives the film a more kind of stage play type aesthetic. This includes a sequence where Toxie comes face to face with his former self, Melvin, before the transformation. Lloyd mentions on the commentary, one of his regrets of this film is not getting Mark Torgel back, who played the original 98-pound solid nerd in the original film. As I said before, I felt too young when I was watching this film. There's a few moments where I just turned around as too gross start by it. I mean, obviously I wasn't as tough as I am now, but I'd see by that time I'd watched RoboCop, the Terminator films, and various horror films like Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th and whatever. Some other films like that. I mean, and obviously they have their moments like that as well. But this one, there's certainly the end battle. Toxie fights this creature. I don't want to spoil it for you. It's got his fusion of like slime and snot and maggots, and the whole prosthetics and the way he looks and what have you. It's all a bit too it was all a bit too much for me back then. I mean, I love that stuff now. Yeah, so I love the film back then and I love the film back now. I mean, maybe there's the nostalgia value. It's kind of clouded my judgment somewhat, but I don't think it's a perfect film by any means. I mean, there is too much voiceover, I feel. The pacing's a little off now and again, and obviously, considering the development of this film, it feels too much like the second film. It doesn't stand out or have its own identity like the first one does. But having said that, I mean, I like all the performances of the main cast. There's lots of good gags in there. I like the fight sequences, the stunts, everything. It makes for a pretty good film overall for me. So them's my opinions. What's yours? And yours and yours. Just let me know down below in the comment section. And I'd just like to throw out a fun question for you. Is there any films that were uncomfortable viewing? Maybe you're watching it with your partner or family and you wasn't quite aware of the content beforehand. Maybe there's a lot of nudity, fighting, swearing, gore, whatever it is. Just let me know down below. And also talking about the retrospectives, they're back. One of my ideas was to review certain films that either I missed at the cinema recently or came out before the channel, my channel came to be. So the first film in this topic, if you will, is going to be Batman v Superman, the extended cut. So stick around for that one. And I've also got ideas and other films and video game ideas, videos to show you and what have you. So just stick around for them if you like this kind of thing. So like, subscribe, comment, and tell your friends and everything. And in the words of the new Cyrus, send the word.
9, 8, 7, 6,